Last time we talked, you had just published your book, The Maverick Stampede. Now that you've kind of got some distance between it, what are your thoughts on the writing process? And, are there things that you wish you would put in there that you didn't? Or has your kind of view of this important moment for Mavs history changed at all?
But of course, when you're looking back on a project like that, yeah, of course. When you're looking back on a project like that, there are going to be a lot of things that you wish you could have changed or written differently, or just, I really wish we could have made a bigger deal out of the regular season, because I wish I think the Mavs regular season journey was really, really interesting, honestly. And but the publishers wanted more of a playoff-focused book, and so that's what they got. So I'm proud of how it turned out. I just wish we could have really hammered home some more of the storylines from the regular season a little bit.
Rob, this is bound to be a storyline. It's been brought up before, and I don't know how real of a discussion it can be, but is Mark Cuban the best owner in the NBA and maybe all of sports?
I think he's definitely up there. I mean, if you're making a list, I don't know if he's the best. I'm sure you could find somebody and make an argument for, but from where I sit, I don't see any owner that's distinctively better than him. He pays for the players that he wants. He'll let guys go if he doesn't think they're worth it or they're going to have, injury problems. He's very active in the decision-making process of his team, but he's also very informed. It's like, advanced statistics or, treatment methods. He's very involved in the whole process and really pushing the Mavs in a lot of positive directions. So, I definitely don't see why not.
On Pro Basketball Talk, you had a great piece about, the concept of clutch and is it just perception, and I tried to expand on that a little bit on True Hoop. Is it really just come down to perception? Is it, I kind of related it to whoever you trust, that is who is clutch to you. Is that basically what it comes down to? Is there really this whole clutch thing, or does it just matter what we feel?
I don't think it really exists. It's just one of those, statistically speaking, if you look at the data, there's never sure that player isn't. And so what you're left with is basic skills that allow players to succeed in those situations. Some guys can create shots and others can't. And it's basically what you've said, that it really comes down to how you feel about certain players, basically execute. And whether it's at the end of the game or in the second quarter doesn't really matter. But when the coach can trust that player, and when we as fans and viewers of the game can trust those players, those are the guys that we view as being clutch, I think.
As far as the clutch thing goes, though, some of it, some people say it doesn't really matter. They should be running a play, but don't the whole Carmelo Anthony argument is the Nuggets were better without him. But then when it came to the playoffs, they didn't have a go-to guy down the stretch to match Durant or Westbrook or whoever was going off. Do you need that focus, or is it just a matter of good coaching over having that one player who can get a bucket?
Well, I think every team needs those guys. You have to have players who can create. Ty Lawson is a guy who can create shots pretty regularly, but he's always going to be hindered by his size. He's still not a great pull-up jump shooter. And so when you look at that Denver Nuggets team, it's not a matter of Carmelo being a star, because if you have the right player, even if he's not a superstar, he can fulfill that role. And so, whether it's Carmelo or whether it's anyone else, it's just what was important to the Nuggets this year is that Wilson Chandler and Raymond Felton and Ty Lawson were not those guys. And so they need to look at, how they can better their offense by finding that shot creation and more reliable sources of that kind of skill.
Speaking of the Nuggets, looking forward, people are really excited about, how they cleared cap space and how they, they brought in draft picks and they brought in young players like Gallinari and Chandler and, they've got money to give to Nene now. Are they really that set up going forward, or is it just kind of a mess that doesn't have a direction?
It is a little bit of a mess, because there are guys currently don't fit perfectly together. But I think it's a great problem to have, is to have that kind of glut of mid-level talent. You don't have the superstar yet, but you have the pieces that you can kind of build around. You can kind of form a stable core for the time being. And definitely compared to the alternative, where you're looking at a roster that's really devoid of contributing talent, having guys like Gallinari like Wilson Chandler if he chooses to come back and if they choose to bring him back. Having that kind of talent on the roster is definitely a good thing. And so what it really tests is, a general manager and the whole management staff's creativity in how they put together their roster. It's not an easy process. It's going to take a lot of, evaluation of talent, both internally and externally. But, there can be some very good things done when you have those kind of assets to work with.